Back in this video, of course, it is recapping Overwatch World Cup, and I'm gonna be honest, guys, I'm a little hot. I am a little hot over this for a couple reasons. So today we did have some very good matches. UK played South Korea very tough, but South Korea was too much in the end. They took it 2-0. They had two ties in that match, something that is kind of unheard of. It's pretty crazy. So that was cool to see. Definitely a good fight there. Then China really smoked Canada, which I didn't see coming. I thought Canada would win it in a very close match, but that obviously didn't happen. China looked so good. I mean, they didn't drop a map against Finland, Canada. I mean, these were two teams that a lot of people thought could potentially knock out the knock off, I should say, not out, but in the finals they would knock off South Korea, and it just didn't happen. Finland just came. I just thought they didn't play that bad. They just got outplayed by China, and it was kind of the same thing with Canada. It was a little weird. Their comps were a little weird for me, and overall, I wasn't a huge fan of their game plan, but I was very impressed with China. Definitely not taking anything away from China. They looked very good, and I was happy for them that they could win both those matches. Of course, I was sad that Canada lost because I was rooting for them, but I wasn't too mad about it. I was okay with it. Like, China, good for them. And then we get to the finals, and it looked like China wet their pants. And to South Korea's credit, they really came to play. They were really crisp, really on point. I don't think China would have won even playing their best. But for the first three maps, they clearly didn't play their best. They looked scared. They looked intimidated. It was just all South Korea. It was all South Korea. It was just absolutely brutal. And it was 3-0 before you knew it. None of the first three maps were close. And China did show their mettle. They did put up a fight in the last match. They were on Gibraltar, and they went back and forth. Both teams scored it. After they both scored it, China had a nice defense, and they set up a winnable. They had about 2 minutes, 20 seconds, and they set up a very winnable condition for them, and they didn't quite get there. They were very close. It's funny, if you notice in that fight, if you watch that video back, or if you may have noticed this, like I did live, South Korea was so close to C9ing that point. Before like the fight even broke out, because China got on with pirate ship. They had their Bastion on, they had their Orisa forward, and they were just pushing it. You could see they were 0.06 away. When I believe it was Fate that dropped in to contest first. So it was that close to them. It would have been no kills. It would have been a no-kill round. They would have just made it the 58-ish meters that they had to go. But they did come in. They did win that fight, and then they won the last fight and a half to lock it down. So overall, I'm not gonna rag on China. I'm not gonna say, oh man, they sucked. They folded. They were terrible. I understand they played against a juggernaut. They didn't quite have the performance they wanted to, but they did put up a fight in the end. They still have to be super happy to get the silver. A lot of people didn't expect that, and I am happy for them. Hopefully some of them they continue on with their contenders careers, or they get an Overwatch League offer even. But I am hot about a couple things. Mainly just the fact that the title match wasn't really close, because I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be 6 or 7. I said in my preview this morning, I said that Canada would make it to the finals, and South Korea would make it, and South Korea would win in a close one, 4-2. But didn't quite happen. But at the end of the day, we did see some good Overwatch. Very interesting Overwatch, high level Overwatch we haven't seen. In Overwatch League was very different, just in terms of the comps. And there's the way that teams went about their business, and how much success teams had. There's a lot of spawn camping. Canada got spawn camped pretty hard on Temple of Anubis. The first day USA spawn camped UK very hard on King's Row. South Korea spun Camp China on Kings Row really hard, so there was a lot of that, and it's just something you see with these GOATS comps, and it's really going to be interesting to me. Of course, Overwatch League is still about 3 months away, or actually 4 months away. It's in February, so I assume preseason will start in January, but there is a long time, so we'll see if the meta is changed before then, if we have less GOATs being run, because there were a lot of GOATs. UK was running it pretty much exclusively, and there was just a lot of teams that were going with that tight, compact, lots of tanks. Obviously, the 3 tanks, 3 supports, and South Korea really stepped up. I do have to hand it to them. I may come off as like a South Korea hater at some points, with like some of the teams in the Overwatch League that were all Korean. But don't get me wrong, I do have a huge amount of respect for the South Korean team, and they did deserve to win, just flat out. And you can't be too salty about that. But what I am mad about, the MVP. How do you give it to Jonak? And again, there were many times during the Overwatch League when I was a little bit like negative towards Jonak, and not even like negative towards him, but I didn't show him as much adoration as a lot of people did around the community. And don't get me wrong, he was the best player in Overwatch League Season 1. He was the best player. I'm not going to contest that. I'm not saying he was the best Zenyatta, which he was, but he was not only the best Zenyatta, but he was the best player in the league. So let's have that perfectly clear. All right? Jonak is an amazing player. I personally thought that in Overwatch League Season 1, he was not the MVP. He was up there. He was the best player, but he was not the most valuable. I thought that you had to give that to Fissure. You saw him come in to an 8th place team, and they finished 4th. Just straight up. They were 4-6 when he joined the team. They finished 25-15. That is a stunning turnaround, absolutely stunning. And he was the main factor that really turned them around. There were obviously other factors too, but that's why I would have him as the most valuable. But when the Overwatch, you guys might remember this, when OWL Season 1 concluded, when Jonak won, I was like, okay, I don't personally agree with it, but I'm not way opposed to it. Like, if Jonak won, I was like, okay, I disagree, but I'm not going to be mad about it. If the other one I had in that, there were only 2 people I had in that conversation. The other one was Carpe. If Carpe had won, I would have disagreed, but I would not have been mad about it at all. So he carried the stable for Philly. I don't think they're a playoff team without him. I just don't think so. Even if you substitute like another very good hit scan player on that Philly team, I don't think they're a playoff team without him. They don't make it to the grand finals. But personally, I thought Fissure was the most valuable, but Jonak won. That's fine. I'm totally fine with that. But in this situation, in this World Cup, we're not talking about Overwatch League. And the people that voted, obviously, I might be a little bit of an elephant in the room, but XQC obviously got the most votes. I'm positive he got the most votes. But Blizzard was like, nah, no, we're not going to give him MVP again. Not with the whole thing with Overwatch League, and a lot of people are just voting for him because he has his extremely popular stream. A lot of people think that Overwatch League was wrong to kick him out and kind of smear his name into the mud. So I'm positive. I'm sorry, even if Blizzard released like numbers, I would not believe them that said Jonak got the most MVPs. I actually don't know exactly what the criteria was, and like if they took the fan vote and that was the only factor, or if it was the combination of the fan vote and like the Overwatch talent and like some other people. I assume that would make more sense than just a pure fan vote, because then obviously it's just a popularity vote. I think that MVP for World Cup means something, and I thought that Flower should have won it last year for South Korea and not XQC. And I was upset then, and I'm upset now. Jonak just wasn't the MVP. He didn't even play that well. He got outplayed in the semifinals by Boombox. Let me repeat that. He got outplayed by Boombox in the semifinals against UK in a match that they won. You can't convince me that isn't the case. I'm sorry, and I will personally, I'm gonna go watch the VOD again, probably tomorrow, and look at it. But he didn't play like he did in OWL. I didn't think his performance stood out nearly as much. It wasn't that he played bad, but he wasn't like Jonak. Like he mind-boggling clips, having trance every fight, using it at like the perfect time, getting all the picks he needed, winning all of his Zen duels, shutting down flankers, getting the orbs on when he needed to, and having discords in surgical places for people to destroy them. But anyway, he was very good. But you can't tell me that he was more valuable than Carpe, and you can't tell me he was more valuable than Fleta. You had to give it to one of those two guys. You just had to. There's no way you don't. Carpe went nuts. He went nuts. He was carrying a lot of those fights as Zarya. His Zarya was insane. He was doing a ton of work on the Widow as well. I mean, and then Fleta against the UK, it was an absolute massacre on Pharah. And you could say, oh, they didn't really counter him. I was telling Mikey A the whole time, that whole match was like, Mikey A, put him on Widow. Put him on Widow. You need help. Fleta is annihilating you guys single-handedly. He has a barrage every fight, and then at the end of the fight, he uses barrage, and then he gets to like 40 again. He was just smashing them. It was unbelievable. And that kind of dominance, I just think, can't be overstated. He single-handedly kind of broke UK's goats. I think UK wins that match if it's not for Fleta popping off on Pharah like that. I think that they would have been able to overwhelm Korea with their goats, and it was close as it was. But Fleta just going massive. He also played very well when he was on Junkrat. Just a very, very good performance. You have to give it to one of those two. I'm sorry. You can't give it to Jonak. That, I feel like they gave him that award because he was the best player in OWL. And they were just like, oh, South Korea won. Who you got to give it to? Oh yeah, Jonak, of course. He's that guy. You can't have watched what I watched this weekend and say that he was the most valuable. So that's what I'm hot about. Also, the people that are saying that it should have been fusions from UK, I'm not gonna be mean, toxic, or anything like that. But please go back and watch the tape. He did play well. Yes, he played very well. For somebody who subbed in, and just in general, he played a very good Reinhardt. He easily outreined Muma. And I thought that he definitely stood toe-to-toe with Fate. He had some huge shatters, but he was also over-aggressive at times. There were a lot of times when he'd be the first one to die in fights, and a lot of his big shatters, go watch it, slow it down if you need to, a lot of them were caused by a brick stun. And that is a credit to UK as a team. Their coordination was very good. There were a lot of times where I was really, really, really harsh on Muma after US lost to UK, but I put it more on Sinatra because he was playing the Brig for the last couple games, and Muma was consistently getting stunned when Fusions had his ult, and Fusions would just lay it down. His timing was great. He knew how to position, and it was great. So I won't take that away from him. But I forget who, Kib, I believe, was their Brig for the most part for UK. He would just stun Muma. Sinatra wouldn't do anything. He wouldn't stun the Brig to try to stop her, or he wouldn't stun Fusions. Fusions would just lay it down and just lay the entire USA team down, and they'd wipe them. So while Muma didn't play well, it's true, he didn't play well. I'm not excusing him. He played pretty awful. I'm going to be honest. On Wrecking Ball, on Volskaya, that was ugly. That was ugly. That was bad. He just had a bad day, because I know he's better than that. He's just better than that. And when he went Reinhardt, oh, that was bad too. Especially the last couple maps. It was brutal. And again, I do put part of that on USA. They did not play as a team, and when you do not play as a team, it hurts your main tank. It really does, more than anyone else on that team. It affects your main tank and it affects your healers. The most, by far. Because, especially in this meta where Reinhardt is so important, and it's about who, for Reinhardt, it's about who has better patience, who can manage their shield better, who can build up their ults faster with good fire strikes, and then lay down the slam when they need to, but it's also, in large part, who can support their Reinhardt the most, who can give the Reinhardt the tools to carry the team fights, and that's what it's really about. And USA did not do that for Muma, but even taking that into account, Fusions did outplay him, and Fusions did play very well in the semifinals as well, but he's not the MVP. He's just not. I'm sorry. All these teams were playing GOATs. Canada and South Korea were probably the ones that strayed away from it the most, but they did use it too, of course. Every team used it, at least at some point. And the DPSs of South Korea, they just broke GOATs. They just broke it. Fleta on that Pharah. Carpe getting picks on Widow. They just cracked it wide open. And it just didn't work for UK against them. You saw that. UK played, I think, about as well as they possibly could have. And they still didn't take a map off Korea. And they did take the 2 draws. But they did not win a map against Korea. And I think that has so much about their DPS. In a meta where a lot of DPS players are playing Zarya, and there's nothing wrong with that. In a meta where a lot of DPS players are playing Brig. It's their lower skill. Zarya isn't like lower skill cap, but she's not a DPS. She is a flex tank, so it's just different. And Brig, while she can do so many things, her skill ceiling is not that high, and her kit, your kit isn't complicated. It's easy to use. It's important. It can do a lot of work, but it is not difficult. So I'm just let me know, please let me know what you think. Go if you're really interested, go watch the VODs and tell me what you think. Tell me if you think I'm insane for thinking this, but I can't see how Jonak is the MVP. I just can't. So yeah, let me know. Let me know if you think I'm wrong and it is Jonak. Let me know if you think I'm totally wrong about Fusions and he was the MVP. You think I was right? Do you think I was wrong and it was somebody else? Surefour from Canada, Leave from China, anyone like that. Let me know. I'm really curious to see what you guys think. Make sure you do like actually watch the matches though beforehand. Don't just say, oh, it's this player because I really like them, or it's just this player because of this or that. You please use reasoning. And yeah, let me know what you think, because it was overall, I am happy. It was a good weekend. I did want somebody to upset South Korea, but I'm not gonna lose any sleep over it. South Korea was the best team. They deserve this. And honestly, all this did was just get me even more hyped for Overwatch League. I just wanted to come back. Once teams start getting finalized, I will be making videos about what I think about them. Obviously, some teams have been leaked fully, but I'm not going to cover them yet. I want like a really good, I want to be really locked in on like, this is the team, this is what they're going with for sure. And yes, look forward to those. And then yeah, I'll see you in the next video, whether it be some Overwatch gameplay, more Overwatch analysis. I kind of want to make a video talking about GOATs a little more in depth, and even though it's not that complicated of a comp, I think it is more complicated than a lot of people give it credit for. When you see all the people spamming GOATs LOL and GOATs Resident Sleeper in the chat, I think they kind of have a point, but there's also more to it. So look forward to that. Thank you guys so very much for watching. Like I said, please let me know what you think in the comments. I'm really curious to see what people think. Try to take your biases out of it as much as possible, and just kind of look at the cold hard facts, the stats, eye test, whatever you want. Yeah, and let me know. Thank you, and I'll see you guys in the next video.